The Africa Twin is definitely one of the most ergonomically correct bikes, almost, from any manufacturer. What I find is I'm locked in at the bottom perfectly. The tank has just the right amount of flare to lock me in. And the handlebar, the rise and the position is almost perfect. What makes the Africa Twin nice is it really only needs a very minor adjustment to make it ideal. I'm just a gnat's ass shy of 6 foot, which if you're a little shorter, this may be okay where it's at. But one of the things the manufacturers all do, any adventure bike, is they're going to set them up biased towards the street. That means they're going to have the risers closer to you and the handlebars lower. So when you sit, your hands are going to be in a natural riding position. The problem is when we're off-road, that means it's way too close to us. The Africa Twin, the risers have a minor setback to them. And if you take a look down here, you can see on these risers here that it comes back and towards me. What I need to do is take that riser and spin it around. There is a 17-inch nut on the bottom that makes it a little bit tight. Most of the time I have to loosen that up. I do this often for riders who come to the adventure camp, but I found it seems to be pretty ideal regardless of the rider height. There's 4 bolts on the top. It's pretty simple, just pop out the cap. There's this little decorative cap over the top of the Allens. And what I'll do is remove those 4 Allens. I'm going to use my trail tool, my Motion Pro bead breaker, for leverage to spin around that lower. That'll allow my handlebars to sit just slightly forward on the triple, and then I can set the position of the handlebars so they run flat, and then it's perfect. I've never used a bike that was more ideal right off the showroom floor. I have no need to add extra handlebars. I have no need to buy risers. Anybody that knows me knows my first instinct is not to throw risers on a motorcycle. Do the setup first, and then if that's not right, double check your riding skills. A lot of times what happens with risers is riders want to be too tall on the motorcycle. They're used to riding on gravel roads, but as soon as things get technical, what happens, come on, there we go. So as soon as things get technical, it ends up being too far back on the motorcycle. Hence, the Africa Twin and this model, the DCT. With the DCT, it is more critical than any other motorcycle on the market to have that body position correct. There's no clutch to save you. If you get thrown back on the motorcycle and you whiskey throttle this, all you're going to do is shoot across the woods, and you've got 2 options. Jump off or wait till you impact something. And neither one is a very good idea. That means this is not necessarily a bike for the most novice. This is a great bike for riders who have good riding skills and good control of the motorcycle. Now, first thing I'll do is I'm going to see if I can spin these risers around without loosening up the bottom. What I'll do is just put that cap back on. I've taken both caps off the handlebars. And then I'll take my Bead Pro and see if that's loose enough that I can just rotate it around. There we go. Perfect. This bike has a single bolt that goes down through that riser, and then it just has a rubber damper around it, so it just spins right around. And you can see, if you come over on this side over here and look down from this angle here. Come on over here. Now, if you look here from this angle, you'll see that this riser, you can see how much farther forward this riser is compared to the back. And that really makes a difference if you look right here. See how much difference there is? That forward motion, or that forward rotation, is just enough. That forward rotation is just enough to make it perfect. When I do my adventure training, one of the first things we do is we get a chance to try out the stock setups that riders have. And then once we figure out what the riding skill is and take into consideration the height of the rider, the arm length, all those other factors, Then what we do is we set up the bike so it's ergonomically correct for that specific rider. I'm telling you, this is perfect for me. I'm 6 foot, I ride forward and relatively aggressive off-road. If you're a 100% street rider, this may not be the perfect setup. If you're really short, maybe this isn't right. And if you're 6'3", you're probably looking at a set of risers in your future. But if you don't need risers, because they mess up so much, they mess up the geometry of the steering often, and they just kind of put a lot more tension and leverage on everything, focus on your skill sets first. The last part of this adjustment just has to do with the angle of the handlebars. Once I have everything back in position, then what I want to do is rotate those handles forward. If you watched any setup of stuff before, this is typical for this bike and any other. What I'm going to do is run across the side of the bike. I'm going to level the outside of the bar, the inside of the bar, and I'm going to run all the way across the bike until all those points are equal and level. Once I get to that point, that's the starting position that I do for any bike that I'm trying to set up for a rider. That's my base position. And then from that point, I can adjust it just slightly up or down. Or if we can't find the ideal setup, then what we do, we find a new set of handlebars. Just going to tighten this back up. Now I'm going to go out and see if I can figure out a nice new poser skill. Something that's DCT specific.